Hello, welcome back. I'm Ron. In today's video, I'm going to go over my GoPro12 Black settings for FPV. So let's jump right into this. So I finally had a chance to get out my FPVs today and make some test runs, take a look at the footage. And this time of year seems about perfect with it being about 80 degrees out. So first thing you need to do, go into your settings and switch from your easy controls to your pro controls in the menu settings. And this is going to give you more options in your setup. So you're also going to want to go into your preferences, your video settings, and turn the bit rate to high and the bit depth to 10 bit for more color range. And once you've done this, you can set up your own personal presets by just clicking the little plus sign here in your video presets menu. Now I've already set mine up and I gave it a name Epic, but these are my specific FPV settings. So I wanted to share them with you, and hopefully they help you out. So under the log profile, I turn that on. I'm shooting at 5.3K, the highest video resolution. 5.3K delivers the best image quality with 91% more resolution than what was available in the 4K video format. I'm also using 16:9 aspect ratio, but if you're shooting for Instagram or for your story, social media, then go ahead and shoot an 8:7. But again, I'm shooting 16:9 for this video. 30 frame per second is what I'm using. My lens settings, mine are set to wide. Hyper smooth, now this can be turned either on or off. It doesn't matter if you're using one of the newer GoPro cameras. So I'll put a link down below if you want to check out more details on that. And if you own any of the newer GoPros like the Hero 12, Hero 11, Hero 11 Mini, Hero 10, the 9, or even the 8, all your video modes, including Hypersmooth, work in the Real Steady Go software for stabilizing your footage even further. So again, doesn't matter if Hypersmooth is on or off in the newer cameras, and you want to run it through GoPro Player and stabilize the footage further. That's exactly what I did. Okay, in captures, I'm not changing anything. I leave that alone. In Pro Tunes, my shutter's set to 1/60. Again, this is a general camera rule. I'm sure you heard this a million times. Because I'm shooting 30 frames per second, then I'm going to set my shutter speed to double the frame rate, hence 1/60. For example, if I was shooting at 60 frames per second, I'd set the shutter to 1/120. Just gives you that nice motion blur that everybody seems to be looking for. You can actually set the value a little higher if you want to. It's not going to hurt, but these are the settings I'm using. For white balance, I have it set to auto. The auto white balance seems to work just fine. You can leave that alone. ISO minimum, I have it set to 100. ISO max, I have it set to 400. Now, a quick note here, the ISO is limited to 400 when you're using log. Just something to keep in mind. So it's set to 400 max. Sharpness, I have it set to low. Medium works pretty well as well. This is a personal preference, so I have it set to low. Again, the color is set to log. Now, I'll mention log encoding is a color profile that retains more dynamic range information throughout the video image. This is especially helpful when the scene is very bright and the subject can be overexposed or oversaturated. The resulting footage is washed out compared to standard video color profile. This recording method is not intended to have the footage used as is and requires color correction. Just keep that in mind. And I don't change anything else. Just keep in mind if you're using these custom or pro settings that I just went over, like I'm showing here, then you're going to want to use an ND filter as well, neutral density filter, so you're not letting too much light into the camera. It was just about to rain the day that I shot this GoPro 12 footage for this video, so I did not use an ND filter. However, normally if it's even a little bit sunny, I'm going to put an ND filter on there. So I just want to mention that as well. One other thing worth mentioning, if you're shooting in log, it doesn't shoot well in low light. Again, doesn't shoot well in low light. Keep that in mind. So in that situation, I would recommend changing back from log to standard in your profile settings. And I also want to mention, I've read through a few comments and some other videos reporting the log profile can be a bit mushy or noisy in the shadows even after color correction, while some folks are saying that the flat color profile appears to still remain and have a little more detail in it than the log. Just keep this in mind when flying FPV. If you're hitting a lot of low light areas, you're better off with the standard color profile instead of the log color profile. And perhaps we'll see some firmware updates down the road. We normally do. I mention this because I'm still playing around with these settings myself, but these seem to be what most of the FPV professionals seem to be using or suggesting, and they're a little different than some of the previous GoPro camera models. So I wanted to emphasize that not everyone wants to do color correction in their footage. The GoPro 12 supports log encoding and what's called GP log, a color profile for power users, we'll say power users, who use third-party post-production editing software, things like Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, or Premiere Pro from Adobe. I use DaVinci and Premiere Pro. I switched over recently from Premiere. I'm using more DaVinci now. So if you do not plan to do any color correcting of your footage, then you shouldn't worry about shooting in log. Just want to throw that out there. And that's it for this video. If you got any value at all out of it, please be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and even drop a comment, even if it's just to say hello down below. I always appreciate it. If you have any questions at all about any of what I just mentioned above, feel free to drop it in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you guys have. See you in the next one. Take care.